Hi everybody. I really did not have time to do a drawing video this week at all. We're putting the final touches on Monster Magazine number 6, the Kolchak issue. Keep up with me on social media and you'll see more about that. But what I did want to talk about is my top 10 favorite comic books that I actually have or have had of all time. Now these are not just comics that I enjoy. I have almost 1,000 comic books that I've collected since I was a kid. These are the ones that, stick in my head, my favorites, the ones I go back to over and over again. So, like most top 10 lists, let's start with number 10. Number 10 is Giant Size Superstars, number 1. Marvel Comics did these giant size comics that were released sporadically for the 70s. DC did the same. But this is super cool to me because this issue had the Fantastic Four in it and the Incredible Hulk. And there's a great story where the Hulk battles the Thing, but there's a twist, and I'm not going to tell you it. You need to find this comic. And there's a picture of it on the screen. And you could usually find this in quarter bins. So be looking for that. That's a real fun book to read, and it's a lot of fun for real. Coming in at number 9 is the limited collector's edition C35 Shazam. This is an oversized comic. It's beautiful. It has great Kurt Schaffenberger artwork inside. It's just really, really cool. And on the cover, of course, you have Jackson Bostwick Shazam on the cover, so you can't go wrong with this. I used to see this in the back of comics as a kid, and I wanted it so badly, but I could never find it. And then one day I was up at Starbase in Franklin, and they had it, and it was like $14, and I was like, I want that, and I bought it. So yeah, it's just the nostalgia of seeing that, the memories of watching Shazam. You know how much I love Shazam. If you watch my drawing videos, you know this already. Number 8, Power of Shazam number 1. For me, this was a awesome starting point. In my life, I'd grown up, getting whatever comics I could get, trading them or buying them in yard sales or anyway. This was the first time I actually took my money as an adult and subscribe to a comic book, and I have the complete run of the Power of Shazam. But this series was fantastic. When I saw this first issue, this is what made me subscribe to the book. I saw this in a comic shop, and I was like, they have a new Shazam series, a new Captain Marvel series. I've got to have this, and I can buy it now. I have a job and I'm an adult, so yeah, I used adult money to buy comic books. The next comic book, number 7, is Detective Comics 503. Detective Comics 503 is a really, really, really cool comic book. In Detective 503, Batman versus the Scarecrow. And there's a way he does it that kind of messes with Bruce Wayne and Batman. And it's a real neat twist, and you need to read this. And they took this and they combined it with another comic, and I can't remember what the other story was, the Crime Alley story. They combined them and made them into an episode of the Super Friends. Fun fact there. Coming in at number 6 is Iron Man number 223. Of all the issues to count as one of your favorites, this one stands out to me. It's just like, this is so cool. It's the beginning of a story. It's not the conclusion. The conclusion's number 224, but I wanted to do single issues here. So issue 223 is Iron Man versus Force. And it's not really a battle per se. It's a story of this villain called Force who has armor just like Iron Man, who is trying to get away from his boss. And if he gets out of the armor, it will fry him. It'll destroy him. So he goes to Iron Man to get help to try to get out of said armor without killing him. And this is a really good story. And the second half is it's more action oriented. The first half is this wonderful story of, can we trust Force? Is he telling us the truth? And if we do help him, you know, what happens then? And it's really good, and I really enjoyed that. Iron Man number 150. This is the big one. Doctor Doom versus Iron Man while traveling through time. You can't make this stuff up. Wait, they did. Here it is. This is the comic book that I wanted as a kid. I got as an adult, read it over and over again, and then traded it to my brother, Jamie. So, yeah, what was I thinking? But anyway, I can always go to his house and read it, so it's no big deal. But this was a really, the artwork's wonderful, the story's wonderful. If you are an Iron Man fan, you've got to get this issue. And it's a little bit harder to find, but when you find it, it's great. All right, now coming in at number 4, DC Comics presents number 33. This is the first half of a story, and I didn't read the next half until I was probably 30 years old. So the first half I read when I was like 10, 11. In this story, Superman and Captain Marvel are switched, and they have to find each other and then try to figure out what's going on. Even their powers are switched, and it's very interesting. And it's a fun lead up, and you have a neat little ending that makes you go, oh, I got to see the next one. But like I said, I didn't get to see the next one until like I was 30. Anyway, this is one of my favorites. I still have my copy, all torn up and dog-eared, and pages all brittly. And it's just, I used to carry it in my back pocket. I would, walk around with it. I'd read it over and over again. I'd take it to school. I would try to draw the pictures on the cover and inside, and it was just great. One of my favorites. Coming in at number 3 is Iron Man 237. Now, a lot of people hate on this comic book something fierce, but this is the quintessential 1980s sci-fi meets Iron Man. You have an alien who is killing people on a spaceship, and Iron Man has to go up in his space armor and fight it. And it's really, really good. This would have been a great 80s sci-fi movie, and I really, really wish people would, look at it in the context of when it was. If you look at it nowadays context, it's a rip-off of this or that. Well, back in the 80s, everybody was ripping everybody else off. I mean, it was just what you did. Comics, even from the beginning, was borrowing from the cinema. So, the same situation here. This is excellently written, excellently drawn, and it's just a wonderful comic book if you can get your hands on it. Number 237, and it's like a single story, and it's just fantastic. Find that. Now we're down to the final 2. Fantastic Four Annual, or Special King Size Annual, number 3 from 1965. This is the big one. This wonderful comic book is the story of Reed and Sue's wedding. Now, Reed is the head of the Fantastic Four. He's the one who has the elastic stretch powers. He's called Mr. Fantastic. And Sue can turn invisible, create invisible objects. And she is known as the Invisible Woman. At the time, she was Invisible Girl. But her name is Sue. Anyway, so on their wedding day, Dr. Doom decides to mentally manipulate every villain in the Marvel Universe to attack their wedding. So it's up to all the other superheroes in the Marvel Universe to defend and protect them during the wedding. This is such a great comic. It is just loaded with cool stuff. And then, of course, you got your backup features, Submariner teams up with Dr. Doom, and then you have the Impossible Man story. Those, just mind-blowing how much coolness was in this one book. I gotta say, this is the one you gotta get. There's an episode of the 1966 Submariner cartoon called Dr. Doomsday, and it's this story changed slightly, mixed with the Submariner Dr. Doom team up story. So it's some really, really cool stuff happening there. Instead of using the Fantastic Four, of course, because Hanna-Barbera was doing Fantastic Four, they used the X-Men. And no, it wasn't Cyclops at Jean's wedding. No, it was like a Peace Alliance building, or a Peace Alliance Day, or something like that. So that's a really cool comic to get. All right, and now coming in at number 1. Now remember, these are the comic books. You know, if I was on a desert island and could only pick 10 comics, these would be those. Out of all my comics, these would be the 10 that I would pick. And here we go. Number 1, and it is Fantastic Four, number 116. Oh my goodness. I got this as a kid, and it was the first comic book I read as well. Wow. Wouldn't it be amazing if the first thing you ever read in a series was just blew your mind, and this did it. I was 8 years old. Of course, I'd seen the Fantastic Four on the 78 cartoon, I believe, around this time period, or it was right before it, somewhere in there. But I knew of the Fantastic Four, but I, like I said, I never read a comic book all the way through. But this cover, shouting at me on the cover, all new thrills as Reed Richards is replaced by Dr. Doom. And I was like, oh, I had to read this, And the artwork and the story are perfect. There is no flaws in this. And of course, I'm going to say that. I'm going to defend this book, because it's like the one for me, But I've read this thing over and over and over again. I know it's part of a story, but I don't care. This is, if I could just get one comic book to keep forever and ever, this would be it. It is just a beautiful book, and I don't want to give anything away. Is you need to read these, and now everything's reprinted, like in collections. So you want to read number 116 as part of that story. I mean, this cover right here is just like screaming, "Hey, read me! This is super cool. Pick this thing up. You've got to read this." Well, that does it for my top 10 favorite comic books of all time. Now, a lot of people are going to be saying, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? I said, these are my favorite comic books of all time. If I could only pick 10, these would be the 10 I picked. You can do the same thing. The only rule is you need to have had the comic book or still have the comic book in your collection, and just make yourself a top 10 list. And it is cool. It is so much fun. And it makes you, kind of think, maybe I can get rid of the rest of my collection. No, I'm not doing that. I'm kidding. I'm not going to get rid of my collection of comics. I've collected those things since I was a kid. No way. Anyway, next week, we're back on the Mercy Queen of Luna strip. This week, like I said, we're pushing really hard to get all the pieces together for the 6th issue of Monster Magazine Kolchak issue. And I want to thank you all so much for the ones who actually do watch this and comment and stuff. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Some shout outs to other channels. I don't like doing shout outs, but I will do that today. I want to say thank you to Slim Carody over at Midnight Monster Party, who actually takes the time to comment on my videos. He's a good guy, and go check his channel out. Support his channel. We'll appreciate it very much. Also, a giant thanks to Bill and Rosa Off Grid. Bill and Rosa are wonderful people, and God bless them. They're just wonderful people. they live off grid. They're truck drivers. They're on the trying the keto diet right now. Oh my goodness, it's just a lot of stuff. They have solar power, and that's like a goal of mine in the future. Down the road somewhere, I want to do like a off grid home with solar power and stuff like that down the road. But that's way far future when I have more money. And I really want to shout out to Toy Bounty Hunter. They gave me a shout out when VidMe was on, that channel called VidMe. And I wanted to do a follow-up on VidMe and tell them, thank you and, shout out to them. But I never got to. VidMe is gone. So this many years later, thank you, Toy Bounty Hunter. Y'all are awesome. Thank you. And there's so many other channels that I want to say hello to and thank you. And but time is running out, and I've got to get back to work on the magazine. So let me just say this: make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Share this video or any of my other videos with your friends or family on social media, or heck, just all of y'all sit together at a table and watch a video. Have some fun. As for me, I got to get back to it. So thank you, and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. And God bless and good night.
Vance Kepley is a self-taught artist who has worked in various mediums, including drawing, painting, and graphic design for over 20 years. He now has his designs here on TeePublic. Old school, unique, stylish. He is also available to help you with your original TeePublic designs. Make sure you visit Vance Kepley Art 1972 at teepublic.com. You'll be glad you did. Was The Bride of Frankenstein the greatest horror film ever made, or just a parody of the original 1931 classic Frankenstein? Read the debate in the latest issue of Monster Magazine.